Chairman. Part 2 of this bill is technical in nature. The bill itself is technical in nature, but this Part 2 simply draws other pieces of legislation into alignment through a series of consequential amendments. And so the consequential amendments, or the revocation of certain parts of legislation, are now referred to in Part 2 in order to make the whole set consistent, internally consistent. So there are amendments to the Tax Administration Act. There are consequential revocations of other enactments, such as the Student Loan Scheme Income Amount for Full Interest Write-Off Regulations 2005, and parts also from 2006 and 2009 being revoked. Mr. Chairman, the need to keep the legislation consistent is important. It is imperative, but it also raises for me the same question that I have referred to previously, and that is the extent to which the consistency reflected in Part 2 of this legislation is consistency reflected in the government's approach to tertiary education. And previously, when I spoke about this, it was clear from some of the interjections opposite that the government members thought that this was simply the Labour Party again saying spend, 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 and don't make any cuts anywhere. Government appropriations have always and ever been about ordering of priorities. What this party is saying is that in order to be not only consistent, but in order to be progressive about tertiary education opportunities and the benefit that accrue to the country from giving more people access to tertiary education opportunities should not be lost sight of and should be made consistent across government policy. So the consistencies that are reflected by Part 2 of this bill come into question when looked at the whole approach to tertiary education policy. We are not any longer in the days that we were when I first went to university, some considerable time ago, at Victoria University. And I remember queuing to pay 10% of the course fees in the Student Union building at Victoria University. We have long since moved from those days. I wish that our newest member of this House still had such a regime available to him. But that is no longer the case. So now it takes active investment on the part of government to ensure that tertiary education is available to all. My father gave me $100. My mother bought me a coat to cope with the Wellington winter. And on the strength of those and a bursary from high school, I went to Victoria University and was able, on the strength of the facilities available at that time, to give my father back the $100 at the end of my first year, with some careful stewardship, I have to say, of the money that I did get. And so I didn't emerge with a student loan. And times have changed, without a doubt, and I wish that things were easier for students now, but they're not. And that is why it's incumbent upon the government to actively invest in tertiary education opportunities. And so the consistency of approach to tertiary education should mirror the consistency that the Minister has achieved in this Part 2 of this bill. Thank you, Mr.
The question is, are you seeing a call,
Yes.
Mr. Mallard? Oh, Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Mr. Chairman, this is a bill which is sort of relatively uncontroversial. I was lucky to be a member of the Select Committee that was dealing with it at the time, and I am pleased to be able to speak to Part 2. And I think it is fair to say that, relatively